First of all, myself and my colleague Nathan are going to explain to you a little bit more about the Machine Intelligence Garage program and about its creative cohort. We'll then jump into an opening keynote from Mcguire. So Myrna is the acting head for machine learning strategy at the BBC. And so she is going to talk to us about how the BBC handles responsible AI. We'll then jump into our starter pitches with a short break in the middle, and then jump into our panel discussion today, which is on the theme of the key barriers for AI adoption in the creative industries with Riot Studio, World Meta, NVIDIA, and the DPP. So pretty exciting. And we'll then wrap up this event at around 11:30. Okay, so what is the Machine Intelligence Garage program? So the Machine Intelligence Garage program is Digital Catapult AI flagship program. And so we help AI and machine learning early stage startups in the UK across three main areas of support, which are the ethics, the technical, and the business and investment. So up to date, we have helped 100+ startups working across various different industries and sectors. And so we recruit 3 cohorts per year, with one of those cohorts being what we called our themed cohort. And so for this year's themed cohort, we have chosen the creative industry, and more in particular, startups working in the visual arts and in the media sectors. So this cohort of 11 exciting startups is built around the novel use of AI and machine learning in the creative industry. And they have developed some absolutely amazing technologies. So from audio recognition and video enrichment to 3D meshing and bringing TV characters to life. So throughout their first 3 months on the program, this cohort had the chance to meet with our program partners during events that were aimed at helping them to break down commercial barriers and to help them to better understand the needs of large creative and media companies. So with this demo day, what we'd like to achieve is really much to continue this engagement by helping the startups to meet with potential customers and to create some better commercial opportunities for all of them. And so this is why we have invited all of you today to attend these very exciting pitches. So just before I hand it over to my colleague Nathan, I would just like to say a massive thank you to all of our partners who helped us with this creative cohort. So I would like to say thank you to the BBC, to Cognizant, to the ICO and to the IPO, to AWS, Lewis Silkin, Graphcore, and to the DPP. And also, so Rowan, who is the CTO of the DPP, is also going to attend our pitch later on today, our panel, sorry, later on today. So please make sure to stay tuned for that. But right now, I would like to hand it over to my colleague Nathan. So Nathan is an AI and machine learning technologist here at Digital Catapult, and he's going to talk to us about how the Machine Intelligence Garage program supports its startups in AI and ethics. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you very much, Hugo, and good morning, everyone. So as some of you might know, the Digital Catapult and Machine Intelligence Garage in particular has a focus on the responsible adoption of AI. And alongside the program, which initially started to unblock the compute constraint for early stage AI startups, for the last few years now, we've been building up our kind of practice in applied AI ethics, how to make kind of responsible AI operational at the startup level and also the corporate level. And this involves several different kinds of interventions. So first of all, we have an independent ethics committee chaired by Luciano Fluidi, and has such people as Dame Wendy Hall, and it's got a fantastic set of experts in technology ethics. And this committee, together with the Digital Catapult team, puts together things like our ethics framework, which is a practical way for startups to investigate their solutions and their products in order to see kind of the potential ethical implications and risks. And we also carry out applied AI ethics research, such as kind of mapping tools that help startups and help other companies to make their machine learning solutions safer and more responsible. And this kind of forms a foundation on which we build our AI ethics work. We also do ethics consultations, and so we're going from kind of the foundations to more specific. And these consultations are one-on-one meetings with our ethics committee and each of the startups in the program. We've done over 70 at this point. And that helps to kind of encourage that discussion about the ethical implications of their technology and of AI in general. And in some cases, we go to a deep dive, which is a 12-month-long program in which we help the startups to build an ethics roadmap and to check in at different points and to give them kind of tailored support. And recently, there was a publication about one of our deep dives with a company called Lumi, which I highly recommend you read. And it's a really good example of how responsible AI can be really great for your business, for building trust in investors and with customers as well. Now, what I'd like to briefly talk about here is some of the kind of specific and new support that we brought to the creative cohort. And because the program is usually sector agnostic, it's challenging to bring together support for each different sector for a group of startups, because they come from all different areas of life. But what we're able to do with this sector-specific cohort is to have specific support for some of the challenges that that arise in the creative industries when it comes to the use of AI. So one of our ethics committee members, Burkhard Schaefer, who's a professor of law at Edinburgh University, delivered a workshop on AI ethics in the creative industries, exploring case studies such as the kind of controversy around GAN-generated art, and also the mapping of cultural heritage assets in Syria, and like what are the implications for this, and helping the startups to think through what are the long-term kind of risks in that, and what are the kind of who are the stakeholders involved in that kind of thinking. And then we took the startups through kind of a custom case study and a workshop, so they can interact with each other and think about these issues in a practical scenario, so they can take those learnings into their own business. So we're always continuing to improve and innovate with our AI ethics support. So kind of on that subject, I'll just hand it over back to Hugo to introduce Myrna. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nathan. And so now to continue on the same topic, and just before diving straight into the pitches, so we are very excited to invite onto our virtual stage today Myrna Mcguire, who is the acting head for machine learning strategy and the lead for responsible AI at the BBC. And so Myrna is going to introduce us to the work that the BBC does in responsible AI and the ways in which the BBC is starting to think about how to apply internal ethics principles to external partnership and engagement. Myrna, over to you.
Thanks, Hugo. Just going to quickly share my screen. Right. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here, and I'm really looking forward to the pitches and the panel later. So as Hugo mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of responsible AI and to set out how the BBC is thinking about this in practice. But the first thing I would like to do is I would like to ask all of you just to have a quick think about a really great AI product or service that you've used or that you've read about. And then perhaps think about a not so great product or service or use of automation or algorithms, and just keep those two examples in your head, and we'll come back to those later. What I'd like to start with is a statement that probably you will all agree with. So it's that AI and machine learning is going to transform the way that we work and interact with our users and our audiences. So making sure that we do so in a positive way, in a way that creates public value, that societal value, and that we feel confident about. The question around responsible AI is how then can we help teams like yourselves build AI and ML products and services which work for all users in a way that you intend them to work? And that's kind of my working definition of what responsible AI actually looks like. I think there are three main pillars to responsible AI. The first is an obvious one. It's reliability. It's around performance. It's about doing the thing that you said you would do and meeting the brief that you've set yourself or that you've been given. The second is around transparency. And I think transparency is twofold. So it's both explaining your design decisions, what you've optimized for, the data sets you've used to your stakeholders, your clients, those that you're working within your organization, so that they can buy into the product or service that's being built. And it's also explaining to your users, your audiences, what's going on, the presence of automation, how their data is being used, and what the outcome of that is going to be. And the final pillar is around inclusiveness, and that harks back to the working for all users point. And perhaps one of the ways that we can drive inclusiveness is to have more people involved in the design process. So a really interdisciplinary view of what you're building and why, and how this relates to your users. And these things taken together, I think, add up to trustworthy AI products and services, and also successful products and services. So again, my central pitch around responsible AI is that it is ultimately successful AI. Having set out my stall on why this is important, I'm going to talk you through a little bit how the BBC has thought about these things. So we made a commitment to responsible development of AI technology several years ago. And of course, thinking about responsibility and public value are key tenets of an organisation like the BBC, which is a public service broadcaster, which is committed to things like universality, impartiality, accuracy, and independence. So we put a piece of work together that we called the Machine Learning Engine Principles. And this is broadly our framework, which is actually quite similar to the Digital Catapult ethical framework. And I should shout out to Libby Kinsey, who also helped us put this together. So I think you'll find there are a lot of similarities on our approach. So where we started was we designed a set of high-level principles that would guide our adoption and application of AI and ML technologies. The first one was around very much not reinventing the wheel in this space. We have a set of values as an organization, so let's apply those. Those are around serving all audiences, creating public value, value for money, inclusiveness. The second bunch of principles is around how we interact with our audiences, our users. So setting out our stall that we're going to use AI and ML technologies to improve the audience experience. And the second one is around the transparency pillar I mentioned earlier, so that we would provide clear explanations as to how and where these are being used and what data is being used. And we also said that we would provide these clear explanations in plain English, which I think is quite important if you've ever read the terms and conditions of most organizations or their privacy policies. Not so straightforward. The third set of principles is really defining what we mean by responsibility in this space. So the first is around applying our editorial values to AI and ML systems that surface BBC content. So it does so aligned with our values like impartiality, and seeking to broaden a user's horizon rather than narrow them. And that relates, for example, to content journeys and recommendation engines. We tried to define what the components of responsibility were, so that it's reviewing what we're doing, it's thinking about security and thinking about fairness. So that point around serving all audiences equally and fairly. And then the final one was around having a human in the loop, and it varies according to what you're building as to where that human needs to be in the loop, but human review of a system or a product at the most important point. We didn't stop there. It's important not to just have a set of high-level principles and intentions, because the danger is then that they're not applied in practice. So the key component of our approach is actually a checklist for practitioners, which you can see summarized here. So what the checklist contains is a set of specific and actionable prompts in each of the sections, and each of the sections accompanies a team throughout the journey of building an ML or AI product or service. And so it's broken down into the kind of scoping and planning stage. You've got sections 3 through 5, which are around thinking about working with others in the BBC. Some of this is specific to the BBC, but it could be repurposed for other teams. So what other relevant processes do you have to go through, whether it's information security, data protection, privacy, some of the legal obligations around that. And then you've got sections 6 through 8, which are the data sciencey bit. So I'm thinking about data sources, training and testing, documenting your model and in ways that are easily understandable, and then managing and monitoring performance. And then you've got a final section, which is about review, to try and keep this a living document, and also to invite peer review, so that it's not just an inward-looking process. So this approach has been really helpful. We've had some really good feedback from teams. It's a multi-purpose checklist, so it doesn't relate to specific AI and ML applications. We did start with a recommendation engine personalization use case, but we found that we can broaden that out to a variety of uses of AI and ML across the BBC. So things like personalization and recommendation, computer vision, including computer vision as a production tool, for example, in nature footage, development of synthetic media, for example, voice technologies, and also new AI and ML fueled products and services. Like we have an app for young people to help sort of introduce their first interaction with smartphones, that uses NLP and other technologies to help diagnose how young people are interacting with others, whether they're sharing personal information, and some use of technology around toxicity to try and reduce cyberbullying, for example. So a real variety of use cases, and teams are feeding back that it really helps them be thoughtful about how they're designing these products and services. It helps them catch issues early on, so to avoid more work further down the line, for example, on what data sources they're pulling in. And we're also getting some good feedback that it's helping bring stakeholders on board. So providing them with the understanding and the confidence that teams are building robust and responsible products, and that we're being really thoughtful around how we're automating and the decisions that we're making with how we're deploying these products and services. I'm going to talk a little bit, and that's just an example of what the checklist looks like in practice. So that's the first section. We haven't yet published the full checklist, but we hope to do so soon. So keep an eye on the BBC R&D website, where I think we're going to pop it up, or I can ask Digital Catapult to share it. But these are examples of some of the prompts that we're asking teams to think about and then to record their responses. And so again, that commitment to transparency and having a bit of a paper trail around what are the issues we've thought about and how have we tackled them. So key questions are things like, have you considered potential alternatives to AI and machine learning? A key question, it's not always the solution. Sometimes there are simpler fixes. What are your desired and expected outcomes? Have you thought about negative impacts and how to mitigate these? And what groups is it going to affect? And that's just at the very beginning of a project. One thing I wanted to talk about specifically with this group is how this approach applies to our partnerships and collaborations. So we say in our high-level principle 4, and specifically that the BBC takes full responsibility for the functioning of our machine learning engines, both in-house and third-party. And this is recognizing that we're not going to be building everything in-house. We're going to be collaborating with third parties, whether it's buying in or co-designing. But our high standards and our commitment to responsibility still need to apply. So what you're going to see is us interrogating things like the core aspect of suitability and accuracy. Does it work? We might want to test it on BBC data sets or with BBC staff or users. There's obviously some core stuff around the legal framework, particularly around data protection and privacy. And then we're also going to interrogate how your work complies or aligns with our own approach to responsible ML. So either using our principles as a basis for comparison, or asking for further information about whether you have your own principles and what ethical reviews and steps that you've taken to ensure that you're designing responsibly. So I'm hoping this is an approach that more organizations are going to adopt and interrogate, and so that it becomes a source of strength and competitive value that organizations are pausing and doing this thinking. So in conclusion, I'd like to come back to my original question, which was, how can we help teams build products and services which work for all users in the way that we intend them to work? And the first thing is, I hope that I've given a bit of context and color to how the BBC thinks about this and tries to answer this question in a practical way. How we're working through this, the sorts of considerations that we're asking teams to look at. And the second part is going back to those examples that I asked you to think about at the beginning of this session, of a really great application and perhaps not so great one that's made the headlines. I hope you can see that perhaps the really great one has taken the time to think about some of these issues and risks and questions, and perhaps has made slightly different design decisions or deployment decisions as a result, and that's led to the kind of high quality experience or product that you're thinking of. And perhaps you can also see that the not so great one, the one that's made the headlines and brought shame on the company or the product, perhaps hasn't taken the time to think about these kinds of things, and that's led to that mistake and that misdeployment further down the road. So thank you all very much. I'm happy to answer any questions, and looking forward to the rest of the session.
Thank you so much, Mena. I mean, that was absolutely super interesting and incredible. It's to hear more about just how you guys at the BBC are handling AI and ethics. So thank you so much. Okay, everybody. So now is the time for first round of pitches for today. So without any further ado, I would like to kick things off by inviting Greg to our virtual stage today. So who is going to talk to us about Humane. So Humane creates high quality 3D characters assets at low cost and in a very short time frame. So just as a heads up, there might be some flash photography, which could be an issue for some of you. But Greg, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hugo. Good morning, everyone. I'll share my screen here. Hi, my name is Greg Mcguire, and I'm the founder and CEO of Humane. I spent 16 years in California, leading visual effects teams on projects such as Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Avatar. And the teams were made up of highly trained specialists, and together we spent thousands of hours developing many of the characters that you know and love in the big screen. And during those thousands of hours, we faced an array of technical problems that had to be addressed so that we could provide our characters with enough high fidelity and with enough authenticity, that the stories that we were telling could capture and hold an audience. And we need the faces of our characters to be able to emote, to be able to provide a link that tells the audience what's going on. And sometimes that's quite different than what's actually been said. So all of this has requirements for large amounts of labor, large amounts of compute power, large amounts of algorithmic solutions to be able to get something that to the user just looks like a person acting normally. And that's been a big problem. And therefore it's been incredibly expensive to make digital humans. Now, the movie industry is a great market to be in, but there's one that's even more compelling. And that's a AAA video game development market. It suffers from exactly the same character creation issues as the movie business. Except in a movie, there might be one or two characters, whereas in a video game, the entire cast is computer generated. And the market is growing and growing rapidly. Pre-pandemic, there were 10 times more video games released on Steam than movies released in the theater. Fast forward to today, and it's no surprise that video games are bigger than movies and music combined. Games are exploding. And as more and more games are being created, more and more content is required. And to make matters worse, players are demanding higher and higher quality. Developers are under pressure to deliver something that's really hard, and they cannot even find the expertise to do it. So I founded Humane in 2017 to meet this demand. And bit by bit, we have been automating the process to create digital humans. We wanted to reduce the thousands of hours it normally takes to the length of time it takes to make a nice cup of tea. So we began with the facial action coding system, or FACS as it's commonly called. FACS is the gold standard in describing all observable facial movement, and it breaks each movement into one of 40 action units that, when combined, can create every single expression possible. So we teamed up with a world-renowned FACS expert, Dr. Erica Rosenberg. She's a protege of its creator, Paul Ekman. And we scanned her posing every single action unit plus common combinations to super high fidelity. And we used the same scanner that we used on Star Wars. And we wrote software to use these scans to generate new action units for all our customers' characters. And we managed to cut the thousands of hours down to just a few hours. It has enabled us to work with many world-leading technology and entertainment companies, Microsoft, Google, Warner, HBO, Access Studios, and Activision. And we just helped Activision deliver one of the world's largest franchises, Call of Duty. But our mission is to help every single video game developer and to enable them to produce a very high quality product. So even though we have already reduced something that would normally take thousands of hours to a few hours, we need to reduce it to a few seconds. Now, to meet this challenge, we began recruiting data scientists to develop a deep learning approach. There are now 17 of us, award-winning artists, programmers, an eminent psychologist, and published data scientists. And we have just received a Marie Curie Award for another postdoc data scientist. So if you're interested, please apply. So deep learning requires a lot of data. And we're not working with data that can be opened in a spreadsheet. Our data is very organic. It moves, and it's highly problematic. And that's because the subtle differences that we all have in the shape of our eyes, our noses, our mouths, and the colors of our skin, the way our faces speak expressions, they all add up to a complex pattern that make us all unique. And the ability to recognize these subtle differences is so important to us as humans that the brain has evolved an area solely devoted to the task. So we asked ourselves, can we use machine learning to recognize these subtle differences to help us build a human likeness? Or to put it another way, can we use machine learning to help us create a digital human from a single photograph? Now, machine learning algorithms are really great at finding complex relationships between different sets of data. And we need our algorithms to extract hidden features from a photograph and to establish the complex relationship it has between it and a 3D model. Now, once it has learned this relationship, it can make a good guess at what the 3D model should look like. So we have calculated that we would need to photograph millions of people from all over the world, and we would need to build 3D models of them all, an impossible task. So using our knowledge and our expertise, we can simulate this process by creating hundreds of realistic digital humans and photographing them inside the computer. So we acquired thousands of scans from hundreds of people from many diverse backgrounds. We built a facial rig that could be posed in any expression possible. We can photograph it under different lighting conditions and different camera angles. And this gives us an exact pairing of images and 3D models to use as training material. So our approach combines our deep understanding of creating digital humans with advances we have made in machine learning to create digital humans for AAA video games. But it has implications beyond entertainment, such as solving medical problems, virtual retail, social media, and many, many more. So we are on a mission for excellence, and the access to computing power provided to us by Digital Catapult is enabling us to do what we do best: create believable digital humans and to move people. We'd love to speak with anyone who shares our vision, and I'd like to thank Digital Catapult for the opportunity, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Greg. That was absolutely amazing, and what a pitch. Thank you. Okay, so moving on. So imagine if you could produce 3D meshes from 2D images that are 100 times faster than a human developer. Well, so Kaidim can do that, and I would like to hand it over to Konstantina and Roman so they can share their story with us. Konstantina and Roman, over to you guys.
Thank you, Hugo. Hi, everyone. For the optimal viewing experience, I recommend switching to speaker view. It currently takes anywhere from hours to weeks to create 3D objects. At KDIM, we have managed to do it in less than 3 seconds with our AI algorithm. How much do you think that this digital pile of trash costs to make? $10, $100, $1,000? Well, only for those couple of pieces, the price is more like $14,000, illustrated in this screenshot from Cyberpunk. But what are digital 3D assets? Well, if you or your kids have ever played Fortnite, every single object in that digital world is a 3D asset. Iron Man's suit in the Marvel films is a 3D asset, and the car that you drive probably started life as a 3D asset on a designer's computer. The demand for 3D assets is growing rapidly across multiple industries, from construction to manufacturing and from entertainment to healthcare, and is accelerated by the shift towards digital communication during the COVID pandemic. However, there's a huge problem demonstrated by the example earlier. 3D assets are incredibly expensive to create, and current methods cannot keep up with demand. Why is this? It's because existing approaches are incredibly complex, labor-intensive, and time-consuming. Even photogrammetry, a major recent advancement in automatic 3D asset creation, relies on days of human labor to manually clean each asset before it can be used. Game creators feel this pain the most. Sean Layden, ex-chairman of PlayStation, said that for every new console generation, he had to double the budget for their games. We are passionate about our technology because we want to see a world where all people have the opportunity to express themselves with a 3-dimensional canvas. Especially for gaming companies, we hope to see more organizations taking creative risks, coming up with new content, and as a result, creating more diversity and inclusivity in the field of 3D entertainment. Our vision is to make 3D creativity frictionless. We do this with our AI-powered platform that automatically creates clean, ready-to-use 3D assets from 2D images in seconds. There is a lot that goes into production-ready 3D assets. So in our first iteration of the product, we are focusing on accelerating prototyping and ideation by producing pre-production assets 100 times faster than it takes with current tools. Our first release will also feature our intelligent asset management system that automatically tags, sorts, finds, and converts assets so that you can spend less time digging through vast databases and more time making great games. By automating the time-consuming and monotonous parts of the production process, we enable designers to create more, iterate faster, and make 3D asset production sustainable. We have achieved an 100 times speed up over current methods, and we are currently testing our platform exclusively with our pilot customers. Our multi-award-winning team brings a fresh perspective and deep industry experience, and we are hard at work building the future of 3D creativity. We are joined by a stellar advisory board of executives across the video game, software, and media sectors, including Chris Kingsley and Sean Layden. In the last 6 months, we raised our pre-seed round, grew our team from 2 to 6 people, and have ongoing pilots with Artman Animations, Rebellion, and 6 other companies across the entertainment and media industries. We have also become part of great accelerators and programs like Digital Catapult and SetSquared. We know from our research with our pilot customers that despite all the recent advancements in the field, every available option for 3D asset creation has significant downsides. Are you manually crafting each asset in-house? I bet your artists feel crushed by deadlines. Are you buying assets from online stores? Well, good luck finding and editing something until it fits your standards. Are you using procedural methods? They are useful once set up, but slow and complicated to create and maintain. We believe in a future where anyone can realize their creativity in 3 dimensions. And if you're excited about that future too, come and talk to us to see how our product can help you save time and money at the same time as making your team happier and more creative. We're looking to engage with 1 or 2 of the most forward-thinking companies. I'm now handing over to Roman for the demo. Thank you.
Thank you, Konstantina. I'd now like to share with you something really great. Game-changing products always combine art and technology in a way that redefines what's possible. And at KDIM, we're doing exactly that. With our product, it's now possible for anyone to create a 3D asset in seconds, not hours or days. Isn't that just amazing? let me show you a glimpse of the future of frictionless 3D creativity. As you can see, we've gone from a single image to a 3D asset almost instantly. In case you missed it, let me show you again. Iconic, recognizable details are captured and reconstructed by our AI system so that you can convert your ideas into 3D faster than ever before. But there's more. Unlike other techniques, such as photogrammetry, our system can recreate unseen areas, such as the footrests of this car, because it intelligently understands the relationship between images and 3D objects in a similar way to humans. This intelligence also enables us to automatically tag, clean, and convert assets for later use, enabling you to focus on the art whilst we focus on the technology. And now you can just get on with making new great content without worrying about the tedious busy work that accompanies managing your ever-growing library of assets. So, if you'd like to be part of the future of 3D creativity, come and talk to us to see how our product can help save you time and money at the same time as making your team happier and more creative. Again, we're looking to engage with one or two of the most forward-thinking companies in this space. So please get in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, both. That was absolutely amazing, and a big virtual round of applause for you both. So thank you so much. So now, as a French person, I've always found it quite frustrating to watch an international movie dubbed in French. And one of the main problems is that the dubbing doesn't quite create like the experience that I was looking for. But fortunately, and for our next pitch, I would like to introduce Sahil from DeepReal, who is going to tell us how they have resolved the movie dubbing problem using AI. Sahil, over to you.
Thanks, Hugo. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sahil Thingra. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DeepReal. I was a young boy when I watched the Kung Fu movie for the first time. It gave me a glimpse into Chinese culture and society, which I had not been exposed to growing up in India. That is the power of cinema. It helps us understand other cultures, imagine other worlds, and empathize with others. But for the vast majority of people, world cinema is just not accessible. Most can't cross the 1-inch barrier of subtitles, but dubbing can help break this barrier. In the last 2 years, we have seen an explosion of foreign language content on streaming services like Netflix. This has been made possible by the fact that this content is dubbed in over 40 languages. But dubbing is complex and time-consuming. Dialogues have to be carefully adapted to match lip movements, and finding voice actors that match the on-screen actor is hard. And even then, the audience experience is far from perfect. Imagine watching Oscar-winning movies like Parasite without getting distracted by subtitles, with realistic voices and accents in your language, lip movements perfectly synchronized. Well, DeepReal enables dubbing companies to do exactly this. We make dubbing easy for companies and realistic for audiences. DeepSync is our first product, which allows dubbing companies to achieve perfect lip sync in any language. The way it works is the voice actors record their dubbed dialogue, and together with the original video, these are uploaded to our cloud platform. Our algorithm understands the dubbed dialogue and creates synthetic lip movements on the face of the screen actor to produce a perfectly synchronized dub video. Let me show you how easy this is. Here is a clip from the movie Titanic.
That's what everybody says, but with all due respect, miss, I'm not the one hanging off the back of a ship here.
We're going to add a German
Komisch,
dialogue.
das sagen alle, aber bei allem Respekt, Miss, ich bin nicht derjenige, der von diesem Schiff springen will. Komisch, das sagen alle, aber bei allem Respekt, Miss, ich bin nicht derjenige, der von diesem Schiff springen will.
So our technology not only works on German, but also works on multiple languages. Here's a clip from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
You accuse me of that, only Mcguire. I knew that you'd stolen the Green Destiny from the start. And what do I get but your childish disdain?
Sorry,
for protecting you and your whole family.
So more than just movies, we can even work on animated videos. We can insert pauses and replace complete dialogues. Here's a video clip from a video game, Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
I think this bickering is a waste of time. Come home. Well, then we must fight for it together, according to the will of its people. Come home.
We have kept the ending the same so that you can see the videos are the same.
Well, then we must fight for it together, according to the will of its people. Come home.
So as you can see, our technology works on a number of different videos, a number of formats. And this allows dialogues to be translated based on meaning and context rather than on lip movements. This creates a much better audience experience, and it allows dubbing to be done much faster. More than that, we can also improve the dubbing workflow. Using automated speech recognition, we can convert and we can break down an entire movie into dialogues by each character and assign it to the respective voice actors. We give a project overview to the dubbing directors, and then voice actors can record their dialogues either from home or the studio and collaborate with teams on the cloud. And this flexibility is a must in the post-COVID world. Our next product is DeepSpeak, which allows the voice actor's voice to be changed to sound more like the on-screen actor. Imagine Leonardo speaking German or Mandarin fluently. This will improve the audience experience further, but also allow dubbing companies to manage their voice talent better. Our cloud platform is available to dubbing studios and media localization companies, and we charge on permanent basis of total content produced. We are the only AI dubbing platform in the market, but more than that, we bring together experts in AI with experts in film production to create algorithms for the entertainment industry. We have partnered with a film production company who give us bespoke dialogue datasets and access to award-winning experts in sound design, VFX, and lighting to tailor our algorithms. We are a well-balanced team of people with multiple master's degrees in data science, AI, and finance, with work experience in tech and investment banking. We have been working for the last 6 months to create our prototype, and now we are looking for 2 things. First, if you are a dubbing company, we would love to partner with you to tailor our product. In return, we would provide you access to our AI models before they are launched to the market. And if you are an investor, we are looking for funding to expand our team and launch our first product. Now, we imagine a world where another young boy sitting in a small town in America can watch movies from Iran, Mexico, or Korea dubbed perfectly into English and get a glimpse into other cultures. With global streaming services and maturing AI technologies, DeepReal can truly make audiences experience global cinema. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sahil. That was absolutely amazing. Okay, so now let's move away from film and move into the music industry. And Jeff is going to tell us how Breathe Music has built a solution to recognize every performance of every song everywhere, on every stage and on every platform. Jeff, over to you.
Good morning. Hopefully you can see everything. Hi, I'm Jeff Francis, CEO and founder of Breathe Music. My passion for music, songwriting, and tech has led me to create a solution to one of the biggest problems in the music industry. Okay, I know it's early morning, but let's be a little provocative here. The biggest problem in the music industry is not with drugs, not with alcohol, and not even with the other thing. It's with royalties. There's been a huge interest recently acquiring music rights, and specifically song rights. Song rights are valuable because songs and compositions can be used in many different ways. Just think about the ways a hit like Hallelujah has been used. You can have multiple commercially released recordings of a song, and as it's become easy to release music, the number of covers continues to increase greatly. On top of that, there can be countless live performances of a song, not to mention reworks, parodies, and translations. Songs can also appear in all kinds of UGC. Every manifestation generates income for the creator and rights owner, or at least they should. For payment to happen, we need to make a connection between the recording, the video or the performance, and the song it contains. And with so many manifestations of any song, this is a major undertaking. Now, traditionally, music publishers had teams of people manually looking for each manifestation. Now, this still happens to an extent, but making the connection is expensive and time-consuming. So you can only do this for the biggest songs. Even then, only a fraction of the total number of connections will be made. Existing recognition technologies can make more connections, but only to an extent. They can usually identify when a known recording of a song is used in certain scenarios, such as on user upload platforms like YouTube, or when it's played on the radio or in a club. But we are still missing most of the manifestations of the song. Most connections still go unmade, which means creators and rights owners go unpaid. Our music recognition technology is focused on the song, so it doesn't matter to us where or how a song is used, any version, any performance, on any stage, anywhere. We can connect any manifestation to the song. Now, current tech can ID commercially released recordings when played on the radio, used on TV, or in UGC. However, lots of connections are missed or never made. For example, songs are not usually ID'd when they are performed live, online or offline, or when unofficial cover versions are uploaded to the internet. Our solution can make any of these connections. So who benefits? This is really important to everyone in the music industry value chain. So if you're a music creator who wants to get paid, a label or publisher who wants to properly manage and exploit your catalog, a collecting society under pressure to accurately and efficiently process royalties, an investor who has spent millions on a song catalog looking to make a great return, or a digital platform facing new copyright obligations as a result of legal reforms in Europe, for example. Our technology adds tangible value to all these stakeholders, ensuring connections are made so that everyone gets paid. A key reason for the recent interest in buying song rights is that the wider music rights business has been in growth since 2015, powered largely by subscription streaming. Another decade of growth is anticipated, further boosting the value of song rights. A more diverse mix of services and platforms will be involved this time, meaning there will be many more connections that need to be made. And now over to our lead machine learning developer, Slava, who will show you how our tech works with a world-exclusive demo.
Let's demonstrate the MVP on Space Oddity by David Bowie. Beautiful. Let's jump over to the web app. Here's the app. We'll pick a cover of Space Oddity. Let's go for Chris Hadfield. Quick aside, this song is not your typical bedroom cover. It actually is a space oddity.
This is ground control to Major Tom.
And this has raised some interesting copyright questions. Okay, back to the app. Identify. Right now, the algorithm is running in the background. First is generating a spectrogram, which is then passed into a neural network. And look at that. Space Oddity by David Bowie. Let's try one more song. Upload. Let's go for a live performance this time by a female artist. Let's have a listen.
And this is ground control to Major Tom.
Very different. And that is a live spectrogram. And identify. Now it's very important to note that our algorithm has never seen any of these test tracks before, which makes it a very difficult task. Magic. Once again, we have the correct answer.
Breathe Music has built a world-leading team to bring the solution to market, including a key collaboration with the Centre for Digital Music at Queen Mary, University of London. We are looking for investors, and we currently have an investment round open. We're looking for partners and platform and rights owners interested in piloting our technology. So please get in touch. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was absolutely amazing, and a massive virtual round of applause for you. Thank you so much. Okay, so and now on to our last presentation for this first round of pitch. So moving from audio to visual data, and I would like to invite Pierre to our virtual stage today, who is going to explain how Metalinks helps companies to handle large image database to build their AI application. Thanks a lot, Pierre, and over to you.
Thanks a lot, Hugo. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being around this morning. I'm Pierre, the CEO and co-founder of Metalinks, where we're facilitating data curation for computer vision. And that's because machine learning is so reliant on good data. As you probably know, it requires a ton of it. So in media applications, data sets of more than 1 million images are actually quite common. And ensuring your data quality at these scales is both incredibly important, yet incredibly difficult. And that's particularly true in visual applications, where the only way you can check your data quality is to see the data, to look at it image by image. And that's why machine learning workflows need these constant iterations to progressively, little by little, improve on the data set and the models, which leads to these very long and costly product developments. So this is the typical kind of iteration a computer vision team would go through. The team would start with data collection and loading the initial data set, and then perform exploratory data analysis, which is really saying how to understand your data, understand what's in the data set. You'll then go through data selection, labeling it, and feeding it into your first model that you've trained. And that's where the iteration then starts. Depending on the results from that model, you'll go back to the exploratory data analysis, selection, labeling, etc., and repeat that loop numerous times until you're happy with the results and can deploy your model. And we're really coming in at these early steps of exploratory data analysis and selection because they can have a huge impact and they've been overlooked. So one of the first impacts that they have is that they simply require a ton of time. It's actually nearly a third of data scientists' time that's being spent on data exploration and selection. And you can imagine this is very expensive time. Secondly, poorly choosing your data in the first steps means that you're labeling unnecessary data. Labeling is often a very significant cost for companies. And oftentimes you're actually labeling data that isn't helping your models at all. Using techniques such as what's called active learning, you can select the right data and reduce the labeling costs up to 6 times. And finally, you will have heard about biased AIs, and all these problems actually come from biased data sets in the first place, which is poor performance on data analysis and selection. That's why you'll hear about AI algorithms performing better on white people or on males. And these kinds of biases and all the other biases you can wreck a company's computer vision models, needing to go back through that loop multiple times or even start from scratch. Again, huge cost, obviously. As a team, we have more than 15 years of experience with these kinds of issues. My co-founder Kanwal has a PhD in computer vision, more than 1,000 citations, and led computer vision both at startups and in academia. As for myself, I got to grips with data visualization through my consulting experience with large-scale FMCG data, and then founded a company in computer vision for fitness. So what did we take away from these experiences? That we need to improve data curation, and we need to do so through better UX, better UI, combined with automated methods of handling your data. So let me show you a quick demo of a prototype. So this is a data cloud. This is a database representation in 3D, where this point cloud is actually a lot of points where each point is an image, in this case, corresponding to a chest X-ray data set that's been used and publicly made available for COVID detection. So we want to split COVID versus not COVID cases. And the representation you see here is called latent space representation. What this means is essentially that the XYZ position, the absolute position of every point doesn't really matter, but it will put further apart points that the model understands differently, points that the model thinks are very different. So at the moment you have this one big cloud of data because the model hasn't yet been trained. But as the model gets better, the data set representation changes and will start splitting into 2 data clouds, one with more COVID, one with less COVID, and getting better and better at this separation. So we're adding lots of features into this, but one of the first things you'd want to do, for example, is look at your labeled versus unlabeled data repartition. You want to label a representative sample of your data set, of course. So simply put, you want to label a little bit of everything rather than a lot of one thing and not of the rest. And so you want to make sure your labeled data spans more or less the entire space of your data set. And I won't go into details, but for example, you don't want this kind of band where you see an area of the graph where you have lots of points that aren't labeled close to each other. So an ML scientist would go in, select individual points or regions of points in the graph, and export a list of these images for post-processing and improving the model. And post-processing most of the time will mean additional labeling, either correcting or new labeling that has to be done. So let me switch back to a 2D case to show some of the other implications that this kind of representation has in a more simple visual format. Let's take dog classification as an example. So on the left, you have your initial unstructured, slightly chaotic data set of dogs all over the place. On the right, you see the latent space representation after a model has started being trained on how to classify dog breeds. And we'll pull closer together dogs that resemble each other. And that's just the equivalent of these data points that I was showing you. That then allows teams to really interrogate the data and ask questions of your data set, such as, why is this point here so far away from its cluster? It's probably some kind of weird dog, or maybe it's a wrong label. Or why are these 2 clusters so close to each other, kind of mixed up? They're probably very similar looking breeds of dogs, but you'd have to visually check that to be sure. And then when you come with a new data set, you add an unlabeled data set on top of your existing data. Is it representative of what you already had? Do you need to change everything in your model? Is it close in spread to the data you had? And I'll also touch on 3 advanced features that we're building into this tool. The first one is active learning, which I hinted at, and is a collection of methods to automatically select the next best data to label, the data that will add the most information to your model based on what you're trying to achieve. The second one is these image maps that I've already shown. And this seems pretty simple and basic, but really having the ability to switch between data points and images like this gives you a very clear visual understanding of how your model is thinking, how it's going about its classification in this case. And finally, we're adding what we're calling explainability features, which are, for example, in this case, going in image by image and seeing where has the model been looking at in each image to come to its decision. So the top right dog, for example, the model has been looking at the dog's face, which makes sense, and that point is correctly classified. On the bottom left image, it turns out there was a cat actually in this particular one, but the model hasn't been looking at the dog, and the heat map can show why the model comes to a wrong conclusion. So we're currently starting to deploy this with our first client in wildlife detection. We've estimated with them that this covers up to 8 days of nitty-gritty work every month of their data scientist time. So if you're also interested in deploying machine learning on large image or video libraries, please do get in touch, and we'd love to chat about how we can help you. We're also currently raising a funding round, so if there are investors interested in these topics, do reach out to me as well. Thanks a lot, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Pierre, and a big virtual round of applause for you. That was amazing. Well done. So now let's move on to a quick break. But just before that, so I would like to mention to all of the attendees that you will be able to follow up with all of the startups that pitched today. So we'll send over a survey this afternoon asking you which of the companies you would like to meet, and then organize some introduction with those startups. But now let's have a quick break, and we'll start again at 10:10. Thank you all. Okay, so welcome back, everyone, and now on to our next round of pitches. And first, I would like to welcome Lydia onto our virtual stage to tell us more about FeedForward and about how their B2B search and metadata engine is going to transform music catalogs. Lydia, over to you. We have you unmuted, Lydia. There we go.
Hi, thanks, Hugo. Hi, I'm Lydia Gregory, CEO and co-founder of FeedForward. We build AI to enable human creativity in music and media, and our flagship product is Figaro, the intuitive music search and metadata engine powered by machine learning. Intuitive music search is the most important opportunity for the music industry in 2021. At its current rate, Spotify will double the size of its catalogue in 3 years, and the music industry has hit a critical hurdle. 1% of artists account for 90% of streams, and the vast majority of music goes undiscovered. In order for the growth of the music industry to continue, people need to be able to find music easily in these huge catalogues. From music supervisors finding a track to fulfill a sync brief, content creators finding soundtracks, to smart speaker or streaming service users finding music to fit their mood. But this is hard to do, because we as humans use subjective language to talk about music. You probably have a different definition of relaxing music to me, and your definition may change depending upon your context. Even the musical meaning of genre terminology, such as R&B or synthpop, is dependent upon cultural context and evolves over time. The underlying problem is that there is no universal language for music. To try to enable search, catalogues currently tag music with descriptive words, but doing this manually is prohibitively time-consuming. This means that descriptive metadata is applied inconsistently or not at all, making most tracks unsearchable. And what's more, even if descriptive metadata was consistently applied, a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't enable people to express their search in a way that is meaningful for them. We need two capabilities: the ability to handle search requests without needing metadata, and the ability to interpret which music is relevant to those search requests based upon context. With Figaro, it is our mission for everyone to be able to find the music they need in no more than 3 steps, using natural language and intuitive interfaces. At its core, Figaro is designed to embrace subjectivity by using deep learning to understand the relationship between descriptive words and music in a given context. Right now, we use this capability to provide 2 types of services: customized metadata management and intuitive similarity search. We have started by solving an immediate problem for music catalogues: the application and management of descriptive metadata. Figaro uses machine learning to understand the unique way each catalogue applies descriptive words to music. What you're seeing here is Figaro predicting tags from this catalogue's own taxonomy with their custom meaning. The user can provide feedback and Figaro continues to tailor their predictions. They retain complete control over the level of automation, and powerful analytics provide insights to improve metadata across the back catalogue. During a recent trial with a major sync music catalogue, over 98% of Figaro's tag predictions were relevant. After testing different tagging products on the market, the team has finally got an intelligent assistant that makes their knowledge scalable. The first search feature we are offering is intuitive similarity search. Figaro uses its understanding of this connection between words and music to enable the user to specify the element of the music that is most important to them, such as genre, mood, or instrumentation, and this tailors the results. This is currently used by catalogues to provide features such as Show Me More Like This or Search by Reference Track. Figaro is available through SaaS subscription via fast REST APIs or with a dedicated app. Since launching version 1 in early 2020, Figaro has had great traction with two of the biggest clients in the industry, Universal Music Production Music and Audio Network. For Audio Network, the ability for music supervisors to search for a track that fits a brief underpins their success as a business. Figaro learned the custom meaning of their taxonomy of over 1,000 tags, enabling them to save significant time whilst preserving their knowledge of music description. The producers retain complete control over which tags are applied to tracks, and Figaro continues to refine its understanding based upon their feedback. This is the first step in our partnership to save valuable time managing metadata and building intuitive search experiences for Audio Network clients. Figaro's first target market has been production music catalogues because of their clear business need and existing descriptive metadata. But this is just the start. Over the next 3 years, we plan to roll out a holistic, intuitive music search platform built upon 3 pillars: media and natural language used to initiate search, guided discovery, where search results dynamically update as the user progresses through their search journey, and context awareness. These pillars combine into a roadmap that includes more powerful features for metadata management, context-aware natural language text search, voice search, and video search. The opportunity of intuitive music search extends well beyond the music industry because music is the language and catalyst of the passion economy. We see that finding, talking about, and creating with music is at the heart of the individuality and creativity that is powering the explosion of this industry. 2020 trends saw the top 100 songs in TikTok gaining more than 50 billion views across more than 125 million creations. Snapchat enabled users to add music to their snaps. There were gigs in Roblox, and revenue from sync across video and gaming continues to increase. But for these trends to continue their growth, users across these platforms, from casual listeners to content creators, need to be able to find music that speaks to them and to their audiences. We therefore see that intuitive music search sits at the heart of the fastest growing industries, and we predict that there are even more opportunities requiring music search yet to be discovered at their intersection. We're proud to have a world-class founding team that is uniquely placed to tackle this goal. As CEO, I bring more than a decade of experience working at the intersection of music, business, and technology. Our Chief Scientific Officer, Kevin Webster, specializes in deep learning and music and is a senior fellow in mathematics at Imperial College London. Our CTO, Jason Story, is an experienced software engineer, and we all met working at award-winning startup Duke Tech, and we are all musicians. Ultimately, what makes our work fascinating on a daily basis is that we are trying to understand how we as humans relate to music. We know that music often helps all of us to express emotions that we find hard to put into words, and this is something we have done as a species since the Stone Age. So it's no wonder that the words we use to search for music are so diverse, messy, and subjective. But we think this is a fundamental truth that can't be ignored or standardized by technology. So with Figaro, we are building a system that embraces this subjectivity, and we are committed to using it to enable people in their creative work. And for us, getting to build this system is an amazing creative journey in itself. So if you have immediate needs in descriptive metadata and search, or are interested in preparing for the future, we'd love to talk with you. Thank you. Over to you, Hugo.
Thank you so much, Linda. And congratulations. What a fantastic project you have there. So well done. Thank you so much. All right, so have you guys ever dreamt about traveling to your favorite country without having to move from your house? If yes, then I am sure that you will be interested in Brett's story today. And Brett is about to tell us how your tour allows any video media to be transformed into an ultra interactive and highly interactive experience. Brett, over to you.
Thank you, Hugo. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brett Harding, and I'm the MD and co-founder of Your Tour. The Taj Mahal, a place I've wanted to visit ever since I caught a glimpse of it way back when there were only 4 channels on TV. But I've never been able to justify traveling 4,200 miles to Agra, and I'm not sure I ever will, as there always seems to be something else I need to or would rather do. I've tried every alternative to jumping on a plane that I can find. Documentaries, virtual tours, live video tours, you name it, I've tried it. But I'm still left unsatisfied as I didn't feel emotionally engaged as if I would do if I was actually there. As of today, there is no digital media technology to rival the quality of an in-person experience. So I'm left with the choice of waving the white flag and making the trip or giving up on my dream. Am I the only one that's ever had this type of conundrum? Of course not. So the market potential for a suitable solution is huge. So what is it about experiencing something in person that makes it so special? We call it the feel. At its core is spatial connection, with interchangeable layers of interaction and storytelling. No existing solution offers the feel, as I've no doubt you felt the same way in the last 12 months too. We see a future where the divide between in-person and digital is bridged. An ultra-accessible future where the experiences you enjoy from the comfort of your sofa are just as good as the ones you travel to. The only way to achieve this is with machine intelligence, and this is where we come in. At Your Tour, we specialize in the technology needed to create emotionally and engaging, immersive digital gateways into worlds. Our solutions are generated by Ape, our AI-powered advanced photogrammetry engine, developed in conjunction with Loughborough University via 3 Innovate UK grants. With Ape, we generate an array of digital foundations for immersive experiences, such as artifact-free 360 video, interactive 3D environments, and novel forms of 3D video. Using our AI-enhanced 360 video, our flagship product, Virtual Visits, has seen unparalleled levels of user engagement with National Trust for Scotland's Virtual Battle of Culloden. And projects with Royal Botanic Garden Edinburgh and EdTech company Twinkle have shown incredible potential as an educational tool and alternative to school trips. Ape has also enabled us to generate interactive 3D environments currently being trialed as a remote training tool by Loughborough University Chemical Engineering Department and Forth Valley College in Falkirk. Our solution is much cheaper and faster than either laser scanning or 3D modeling. And finally, our latest project, in collaboration with ARM and its state-of-the-art neural processor units, will see us natively support 360 video on television, tablets, and other devices with intuitive gesture detection and explore new forms of 3D video using parallax depth and personalized stereo vision. All of this is designed to take immersive visual media to the next level. So, the competition. Isn't the answer just to use VR? Well, no, because it shouldn't just be an either-or decision. Despite the well-deserved success of Oculus, VR will firmly remain an acquired taste for now. And that's why every device should be immersive as possible. Reverting to television and cinema, if you were anything like me when putting your 3D glasses on, you were wondering, is this really the future of television or film? Well, no wonder 3D film has been in decline, 3D film revenue has been in decline since 2010. Our layered approach of building upon increasingly immersive technologies means that you won't get a repeat of 3D TV. So what do users think of our products? With the 48,000 virtual visits already taken, we're pleased to say that users are given 4.7 stars out of a possible 5. And this is no doubt due to the incredible level of immersion and engagement with an average viewing time of 7 minutes for Culloden. It's early days for other projects, but the signs are extremely positive. As for corporate impact, National Trust for Scotland's official response is as shown. And I'm pleased to say they've appointed us to work on their 10-year plan, which includes the digitization of their considerable assets. We have a highly cohesive core team, most of whom I work with on my former business, Lovestruck.com, a 10 million turnover company. The team covers all necessary areas, including commercial, software development, machine intelligence innovation, and creative, with each core team member an expert in their field. Our roadmap is clear. Our virtual visit technology is available now, including remote peer-to-peer synchronization for shared experiences. Our interactive virtual environments are currently in beta with a full launch later this year. And we've completed the initial research phase of the ARM project and will start in earnest next month, penciling in a late 2022 launch date. Speaking of which, let's take a look at our lead developer, Tom, enjoying a very early stage demo of the ARM project. Here we can see Tom using head tracking to recreate the experience of parallax depth, where objects in the scene move according to how far away they are, just as if you were looking through a window. Now, our CTO, Alex, decides to freely roam around a haberdashery store. None of what you're seeing has been created with a 3D model. Instead, it uses 360 stills and AI to fill the gaps. The ARM project will see us expand this to work with 2D and 360 video footage, and it is with this that we need your help. Our objective for today is to secure a willing and able media partner for the ARM collaboration. Could it be you? Thank you, and over to Hugo.
Thank you so much, Brett. That was absolutely amazing. And a big virtual round of applause for you. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so now moving to our next pitch, and I would like to invite Eddie onto our virtual stage today to talk about Envision. So Envision is an AI startup building the video productivity platform that combines speech-to-text and computer vision to enable companies to centralize their video within a single platform, search for content within them, and edit video in a quick and intuitive manner. Eddie, over to you.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, brilliant. So hi everyone, and can you see myself? I'm sorry, I think I got something off on the settings on Zoom. Let me go back to the meeting. I can't see my meeting anymore. Can you see me? If you can see me, then we can get started. Okay, no, you couldn't see me.
There we go.
Right, okay, brilliant. Sorry about this. So let's share the screen again. Hi everyone, I'm Eddie, co-founder and CEO of Envision, where we help companies work 10 times faster with their videos. Over the last few years, we've seen an explosion in the adoption of video by many businesses for many use cases, including communication, sales and marketing, and learning and development. Of course, last year's pandemic accelerated this shift to a video-centric world, which is amazing because video is such an engaging medium, but it also brings its fair share of challenges. Speaking of challenges, my co-founders, Stafis and I, are quite aware of some of the issues with working with video in a business context. You see, in our previous jobs, we recorded many video calls with our globally distributed customers and stakeholders. These videos contained a wealth of information that we would have loved to easily clip and share more frequently with the rest of the team to accelerate knowledge acquisition, but also improve alignment. But we could not easily extract this information as we did not have the right tools to do so in an efficient manner. We thought that surely we could not be the only ones dealing with this challenge. And indeed, after speaking with many companies, including media organizations, we realized that working with video is still very hard to this day. On the one hand, video editing software remains complex and daunting, even for simple tasks, and is reserved for professional video editors. On the other hand, finding that specific video segment where a given word is said or someone appears on screen is very tedious and time-consuming because you'll need to know in which folder the video is located. You'd also need to know the video file, and then within the video itself, you need to know exactly when that sequence of interest occurs. Therefore, businesses lose out on the opportunity to scale their content creation with non-professional video editors, and also waste many hours and money on tasks that should be simpler and faster. That is precisely why we are building Envision, the AI-powered video platform to enable businesses to work 10 times faster with their videos. Our platform leverages computer vision and speech-to-text to understand and index any spoken word, person appearing on screen, text, and also understand scenes. This understanding and indexing of videos enables us to make them searchable in a couple of seconds. This understanding and indexing of videos also enables us to reimagine how videos are edited and created. Let me give you a quick demo of our product. So this is the live version of Envision Studio, our product, and you are currently looking at a demo account, which we have populated with many videos. As soon as videos arrive onto the platform, they are automatically enriched and made searchable. So within my media library here, I could look for a video where, for instance, Jeff Bezos appears. This retrieves the videos where Jeff Bezos appears, but not only do we retrieve the videos, we also know exactly when and where Jeff Bezos appears. So if I were to click on this video, this would take me directly to the time where Jeff Bezos appears, as you can see here. It doesn't appear before, so this must be right. Similarly, we can also retrieve videos based on any spoken word. So if I am to search for vaccine, I am being recommended all the sentences in which this word is mentioned across all the videos in my media library. I could click on one link and that will take me to that specific video. Double clicking will take me to that part where the sentence where the word vaccine is mentioned takes place. So this indexing and understanding of videos also enables us to reimagine how we edit videos. And we can do that very easily via what we call a project. Once again, in terms of workflow, we leverage our search capabilities. This time, let's pick a video with Bill Gates. So what I can do is simply highlight the text from the automatically generated transcripts and add it to my project.
Well, there's no good.
I can do that for as many video segments as I want. So let's add another video segment right here. And one of the other things that our platform does as well is identify scenes within a video, which enables you to visualize your videos based on scenes, but also add a specific scene. So I could at random play this scene if I wanted to, and add that scene as well. I have the ability to change the order of my segments. And finally, once I am satisfied with my project, I can simply click on this button, set some of the options, we'll leave them all on, and download my video. This in the background gets our platform to stitch together the video segments which I have highlighted and create a new video, which you can then share or publish on social media. Now, back to our presentation. What I've shown you is our platform, Envision Studio, which in a nutshell enables companies to create videos very quickly and intuitively, much more quickly than with current methods. Of course, our 1-second video search eliminates the time that it previously took you to find videos. And since our platform is cloud-based, it enables your team to collaborate. And of course, because your content is readily accessible and reusable, it gives you technically infinite repurposing potential. Additionally, we provide configurable and scalable AI models that give you full and fast search over your entire media library at a cost-effective price. Our business model is very simple. We charge a yearly fee based on the number of seats per organization. There is also a one-off cost per minute of video enriched with our AI. If you do have a lot of videos, we do have volume discounts for you. We'd love to work together. We are open to running pilots with your own data so as to demonstrate how we can help you accelerate your video workflows with our cutting-edge AI. This is an amazing opportunity to co-create a solution together that delivers huge benefits to your organization. If you are interested in learning more about Envision and collaborating with us, email me on eddie@envision.io. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eddie. That was absolutely amazing. And congratulations again. Really, really good pitch. Thank you. Cool. So now let's move in the world of motion capture. And Wilhelm is going to tell us about how Zeta Motion revolutionizes motion capture with a unique AI-based approach, providing products which are fast, accurate, affordable, and scalable. Thank you, Will, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Hugo. My name is Wilhelm Klein. I am co-founder and CEO of ZetaMotion. And as Hugo just pointed out, it is indeed our mission and vision to revolutionize and democratize motion capture. Motion capture is already an indispensable tool for many industries, and it's best known especially for big picture productions like here, where we have Benedict Cumberbatch being captured to play Smaug in The Hobbit. But it actually goes way beyond that, and is also a very important tool in sectors like gaming, animation, AR and VR, and the Industry 4.0. In essence, really, motion capture is the technology which bridges the gap between the physical and the virtual world, as it allows machines to identify and track objects in 3D space and interact with them as well. So there is a big problem at the moment in the current motion capture sector. And that is, if you are a studio or an animator and you want to make use of motion capture for your project, you essentially have two choices at the moment. On the one hand, you have consumer level image-based approaches, such as the ones offered by Microsoft Kinect or RealSense, and the kind of technologies that drive HomeKit gaming systems. These are somewhat affordable, but their tracking is really quite crude and inaccurate. On the other hand, you have the kind of professional systems that are used in big cinema. These are indeed very fast and very accurate, but the system and the setup is really difficult to use. It's quite cumbersome and complex. And the type of studio you need is exceedingly expensive. So if you were to make use of this kind of studio, if you were to rent even just 1 hour in a studio like this, it can easily cost you more than £1,000. So what is missing is really a solution that is precise and affordable and easy to use. And that is exactly where ZetaMotion comes into play, because what we have created is neural capture. And neural capture is a patent-pending technology that takes the best methods and elements of both consumer and high-end approaches and uses cutting-edge AI to create a solution that is as easy and affordable as consumer-level technologies, and at the same time as fast and accurate as high-end approaches. Our products are ready to go and are consisting of both software and hardware elements, including a robust and fast motion capture sensor, as well as our ZMotion mobile app, which allows you to do neural capture from your own mobile phone or other off-the-shelf mobile device. Here you can see our MVP in action, where our sensor is tracking two objects in 3D space and recording its movement in 3D. And in this case, it's a mug, and before it's another random object. And in this case, you can see an iPhone tracking an object and mapping the movement accurately onto, in this case, a little fighter plane. And especially with the resources that we were able to have access to through the Machine Intelligence Garage, we were able to develop even more advanced projects. And our CTO and co-founder, Dr. Hui Fan, is going to tell you a little bit more about this in a second.
Hi, I'm Hui Fan, CTO of ZetaMotion. Today I'll demo the latest prototype of our motion capture glove. The system itself is quite simple. First, we have the glove. It's an ordinary glove. That means you can use it to do everyday work. We put some specially designed markers on it to help with the tracking. And here we have our MVP, the zero sensor. The sensor is connected to a laptop where we'll display the result. You can see on the screen, the glove is being tracked accurately in three-dimensional space. Right, so how is this different from what you can find on the market? First, our solution is very fast, right? As you can see, it can run on any computer. It can even run on single board computers such as the Raspberry Pi. And B, is very affordable. The glove itself costs less than £1, and it's also portable. That means you can carry it around to use anywhere you like. The last and most important point is that it allows interaction with physical objects. For example, I can pick up this cup here, and it doesn't disrupt the tracking, right? So where do we go from here? As you can see right now, we're only tracking 2 fingers. Our plan to extend the support to full hand tracking and eventually full body tracking by suit and glove.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So how does ZetaMotion square up to competition, such as on the consumer level, like Microsoft Kinect or Intel RealSense, or at the high-end level compared to Vicon or Qualisys? Well, in short, it does very well. That is because our system works in real time and at millimeter level accuracy. It can track anything, including humans, animals, rigid objects, and even non-rigid objects. It is very easy to use. It's easy to integrate in any existing system, and you can scale it thanks to its affordability. And all of it, as just mentioned, comes at a fraction of the price of conventional systems. We are very fortunate and privileged to be supported by programs such as the Machine Intelligence Program, as well as the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator, as well as other various governmental and university support schemes. But much more importantly, we are successfully deploying our technology in the real world. And right now, we are preparing to bring our technology to various universities around the world. And in the case of Hong Kong Baptist University, for example, this will bring a never seen before level of immersive experiences in art and theater. And in the case of Hossan University, our technology will really democratize a technology that is otherwise prohibitively expensive in this setting. To give you just one example of a successful use case, where we brought neural capture to an outdoor arts event. In this case, the organizers of the Light Up Pool Festival put forward a challenge to make their festival more interesting and interactive for their visitors, and at the same time solve an important pain point for them, which is to capture data about their visitors. They wanted to know how many people are visiting and how are they interacting and engaging with the installations at the event. So we brought our system and in the process of this created what is essentially the largest motion capture installation ever to date worldwide, and captured the unique interactions of more than 15,000 visitors with a peak of 128 concurrent users. All of that being fully GDPR compliant. So really, if you want to harness the power of motion capture for your project, whether you want to, say, capture this unique wiggle of your dog when it's about to go for a walk and include that in your film or animation, whether you want to create a one-of-a-kind experience for your museum, your gallery, your festival, or your concert, or you want to create a global, immersive, collaborative concert, we at ZetaMotion would be delighted to help you make that a reality. So please reach out, and we are looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Wilhelm. That was an absolutely amazing pitch, and well done to Hui as well for the demo. Cool. So moving on. So from the world of motion capture, let's now switch to the world of fashion. And for that, I would like to introduce Alfredo, who is going to tell us more about how his company Away to Mars has developed an AI-based software to co-create with designers in order to achieve better products. Alfredo, over to you, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Hugo. My name is Alfredo. I'm the founder of Away to Mars. Away to Mars is a co-creation platform. Everything started in 2014 when I was at uni doing a master's in culture and innovation, and I was trying to find how social media and how social platforms were impacting the creative industries, and how the creative minds and creative talents were using those platforms to share ideas. One of my findings were like all all those people were sharing these drawings and inspirations on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Instagram, but all these ideas, they got lost, they didn't get produced, or because the designer didn't have the skills, or didn't have the context, or didn't have the time, or the money to invest in the product development. So I proposed as my master's thesis to create a place where people could share those ideas online, interact, co-create, basically give feedback to each other. So like enhancing the skills, and we as a company would support them with the boring bits of fashion days, basically prototyping, managing the supply chain, selling, and then we would give back the profits back to the community and to the designers. So I opened that as a beta platform in 2014 as my graduation project, and then I was invited to do a test run a collection at Lisbon Fashion Week, just to see how it went. And then we did 40 looks. And suddenly we got a lot of coverage from press. So we got Vogue, The Guardian, the BOF interested. We got a supermodel Natalia Vodanova wearing the look. Susie Menkes came to watch, and suddenly everything turned into reality. And so, there's a potential for us to turn this into a business and make this business model work in benefit of all. So we launched the platform officially in 2015, and then we did the co-creation launching our own line, HMR's line of products. But then we started to get approached by other brands. So basically brands that wanted to experiment and experience the power of the platform and the power of the collective designers. We did our first collaboration with a Brazilian brand called Melissa, and they do this PVC sustainable shoes, so they're all recycled, and was our first interaction of a product development with a huge brand and our community. The collaboration was a huge success. We received around 600 ideas from the community. We focus on 3 new models, and 2 of the models were sold out in 48 hours. After Melissa, we did a collaboration with Fruit Loop. So yeah, moving from fashion to fast consumer goods, basically designing the entire merchandising for the cereal brand in America, which was launched during New York Fashion Week, and also sold out in the first week. Then we started to move more on the luxury side. So we've partnered with the Wilmar company and Harvey Nichols to create a sustainable wool collection that also went to solely exclusively for Harvey Nichols London. And we only did 300 pieces that were tracked by blockchain, so all the entire supply chain was tracked and traced, and all 300 pieces were sold. Then again, in the luxury market, we are finalizing our partnership with Missoni. There's a very well-known brand from Italy, and also is our biggest collaboration so far. We received 800 ideas, and we are launching this winter. We also experienced we did some pop-ups in London. So we've done 3 pop-ups, one in West, one in East, and one in South. So every Christmas we try a different location, and it's a great place to engage with the consumers and reach a different demographics that are not used to it online, but are more willing to buy on the physical space. So it's been also very interesting for us to tip on that. So since we started, we've done 15 collections. We have 20,000 active designers. We've done more than 500 co-created items, and with all these brands. But now we are in a new part of the business, and we want to experiment a new co-creation model, and basically bringing not only designers and brands, but designers, brands, and AI. So we've been developing an AI co-creation tool, which is supporting designers with creative insights and also helping brands to innovate in products, learning its aesthetics. So we've been doing this with help of IBM, UK, Innovate UK, EOAL, Holation, Digital Catboat, and BFTT. So I'm going to just show you a very quick demo of what we've achieved in our research, and we are planning to launch a working prototype in September this year.
How can we use AI to enable us to co-create new, innovative, and creative processes to design the fashion of the future? Away to Mars is a pioneering fashion technology company that is democratizing fashion design through collaboration. Away to Mars is building the world's first co-creation digital game for fashion design, powered by state-of-the-art technology such as the latest in generative visual AI. The co-creation platform will enable designers to create with each other and AI for Away to Mars' own collections, and also collaborate with top fashion brands on special projects, which have previously included Mazzoni and Harvey Nichols. Designing a game that is engaging, fun, and playful, with the option of everyone playing getting credited for their contribution. In our game design, players are both professional designers and consumers, where we intend to provide ingredients such as color, print, and texture as a palette to choose from. The project is exploring the concept of an idea economy, where each idea and contribution to the final collaborative design is rewarded by a token. Importantly, as a form of visual rights system in tracking creative contribution to the co-created garment. To date, we've combined many different types of algorithms and tested them on a huge range of data sets that have been created bespoke, bringing together Away to Mars's own collections with lots of other sources of inspiration.
Sorry, I put the wrong video, but so that's basically the demo that we're working now, and we're planning to launch that in September. And if you guys are interested in learning more about how to use AI in the creative in fashion, and just come talk to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alfredo, and well done to you. That was really great. Thank you so much. Okay, and now let's move to our last startup for today. And what a better way to conclude this round of pitches than by talking about interactive stories. And for that, I would like to invite Guy from Charisma AI to tell us how the company transforms graphic novels into interactive stories using AI. Thanks a lot, Guy, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Hugo. And on behalf of all of the participants here today, I'd like to thank you for hosting our very own First Dates Hotel over the course of today and the last couple of months. So welcome to Charisma.ai. I am the CEO. My name is Guy Gadney, and I'm here with Annette Parry, our Chief Technology Officer, Ben Salili James, our Chief Technology Officer, and with our interactive storytelling technology platform, Charisma.ai. Charisma is a toolkit for creating interactive stories with believable virtual characters. You meet with them, converse with them, and change the story. So first up, let me show you live what this looks like. The story here is that this guy, who you can see on screen, has just handed himself into a police station, and he will only talk to you.
Hello. Thanks for coming. I bet you're wondering why you're here.
Yes, I am.
You're here because you're special. I've heard you're the best. And in the next few moments, I want you to prove your reputation.
Okay, how do I do that?
You have a reputation as a player. So naturally, let's start with a little game. Who are you closest to in your family?
That would probably be my aunt, Alice.
Ah, Alice. I can see why. Let's try a harder question. If you had to kill someone in your family, who would you choose?
Definitely my uncle, Kevin.
You're right, Kevin is quite expendable. And if you don't play this right, Alice will be too. The more I get to know you, the more interesting I think you are. Shall we continue?
Yeah, sure.
Have you ever felt you were different to everyone else, on a different level to other people?
Definitely, of course I have.
I thought so. That's why you're here. If you play this right, you can save lives. Quite valuable and exceptional lives, apparently. Are you then?
Yes, I am.
Good. Now, if we're going to continue, we're going to need to create a bond, a deep connection. So let's test how we're getting on. Be honest. We've got more in common than you thought, haven't we?
No way, you're a complete psychopath.
Now you're being disrespectful. You tested my patience throughout this conversation. As a result, one victim is already dead and now I'm coming for Alice. Look out of your window and you will see few clouds. This sky will always remind you of their death. Stay there.
And if I look out of my window now behind me, I can see a few clouds passing in outside my room here. So this is charisma. It's the technology that powers interactive drama. And you just met the world's most dangerous serial killer, Marcus Winter. Now, our vision is that every TV series has a charisma interactive version. And further than that, as the first movers in this market, charisma becomes the de facto platform for all interactive television. The reason this is important now is because interactive TV is driving differentiation amongst TV networks. Netflix started the competition with Bandersnatch, followed up with Kimmy Schmidt, and last month announced the launch of 2 new series of Bear Grylls Interactive. Closer to home, we've produced 5 interactive stories with the BBC and the Bulletproof co-production with Vertigo Films for Sky.
Look, we haven't got time to explain, we've got to move.
There's a nasty piece of work called Hanson. Says he's going to kill 3 people today. He won't speak to us, but he said you might let him live if he can speak to you. Just talk to him, hear what he has to say, and we'll do the rest.
Now, the unique difference with charisma is that the audiences are becoming part of the story, talking to the characters naturally, as I did earlier, getting to know them and changing the storyline depending on what they say. This subtle but critical difference is enabled by new artificial intelligence tech, combined with over 25 years of experience that we have in interactive storytelling. However, creating these sorts of projects is complex and expensive at the moment. To write a book, you might use Word. To write a script, you might use Final Draft. But if you're writing an interactive branching narrative, you use charisma. And charisma works across all platforms: television, games, virtual reality, music videos, immersive theatre, digital humans, and even robots. We're the engine that powers your interactive entertainment. When there is a breakout series like Sherlock, we can create new revenues by extending it into interactive form. Where there are characters that audiences love, we can deepen that relationship and engagement using charisma. Where there is a gap between episodes or series, we fill that gap, generating marketing opportunities and revenue streams for the show from sponsorship, advertising, and retail. And sitting behind charisma are deep audience insights around what people are feeling about a show, as we can see what audiences are saying to the characters. Which means that charisma is the single most important toolkit you need for interactive storytelling, powering the next generation of interactive entertainment, generating valuable data from immersive storytelling, and making it all easier and more efficient through smart and friendly technology design. We're super proud to be allied with great companies around the world to maintain our leadership position in creative AI. As well as commercial partnerships, we make sure we're plugged into the best R&D communities in the US, UK, and Canada to be future-focused in our thinking and technology. And we're supported by the best accelerators in the UK for business, machine learning, and 5G, accelerating our growth and ambitions. Our co-founders have huge experience in this rare media tech arena. I have over 25 years experience in both startups and large media organizations leading digital strategies and executions. Ben built Charisma after graduating from Cambridge University's computer science program, and Annette has over 20 years experience delivering mobile, web, and games projects. So the 3 points to take away from today with Charisma are that, 1, we enable scalable creativity across multiple sectors in interactive storytelling. 2, we enable scalable creativity, there you go. And 3, we are the experts in innovative artificial intelligence. Today, we're here to connect with new commercial partners who want to grow audiences across multiple media platforms and engage with them. After all, wherever there's a story, that's where you'll find Charisma. Please join us. Thank you very much today.
Thank you so much, Guy. That was absolutely amazing. So if you guys would like to get in touch with our founders today, please do so by using the contact information in the chat. And in addition, we'll be in touch with all of you to organize some follow-up introductions. So this was our last pitch for today. And I would like to say a massive congratulations to all of the startups that pitched today. There was a lot of preparation going into these pitches, so you can all be very proud of yourself, of course. So now let's dive into the last part for the demo day today with a panel discussion on the key barriers for AI adoption in the creative industry with Wild Meta, DPP, NVIDIA, and Riot Studio. So for the attendees, if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat. And so right now, I would like to hand it over to my colleague, Max, who is Digital Catapult Industry Lead for the creative industry and also the moderator for this panel. So over to you, Max, to introduce yourself and to introduce our panelists for today. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Hugo. And I'd like to say thanks again to all the startups who just pitched. That was absolutely breathtaking. I've been at the Catapult for about 3 years or so, and the level of technology now is just absolutely staggering how much it's changing and accelerating. So, so well done to everyone. As Hugo said, this panel, we're going to be talking predominantly about the challenges that startups are facing today, but I'm also really keen to sort of inspire a discussion around what do we think the challenges of tomorrow might be and how might these tools start to change the society we live in. We've got some representation from different parts of the ecosystem. So we've got a startup, we've got an industry association, a technology provider, and an industry, and then also an industry partner. So I'm hoping that the expert panel will be able to help everyone take something away today that they maybe haven't thought about before, get a sense on what the future might look like. So with that, I'm going to ask each panel member to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Rowan de Pomeroy from DPP.
Thanks, Max. Yeah, I'm Rowan. I'm the CTO at the DPP. The DPP is the Media Industries Business Network. So we are a membership organization that brings together broadcasters and streaming platforms and content producers and post-producers with the technology and service companies that sort of make that whole ecosystem possible. And I lead the technology work there and some of our events and insight that we do across the industry.
Thanks, Rowan. Kadeen James from Riot. Horizon. Kadeen, you're on mute.
It would help if I turned off mute. Hi, everybody. Delighted to be here. Thank you so much to Max and the team for assembling everybody this morning. So I'm Kadeen James. I'm the creative technology strategist at Verizon Studios. And I also sit within the Riot teams where we specialize in immersive production. So using tools like virtual reality, augmented reality to visualize and create content for brands and audiences at scale all over the world.
Thanks very much. Amandine Flack from Wild Meta.
Hi everyone, good morning. So I'm Amandine and I have been working with early stage tech startups in emerging technologies for now 10 years. Now today I am the CEO and co-founder of Wild Meta, and we are helping video games developers create smarter and more human-like NPCs, so non-playable characters, using machine learning.
Thanks, Amandine. And lastly, Jamie Allen from NVIDIA.
Thank you, Max. Delighted to be here today. I'm Jamie from NVIDIA. I look after the media and entertainment sector here for the EMEA region. NVIDIA as a company is a big story to tell in a few seconds, but essentially we build accelerated platforms for the computing required for the most advanced AI graphics and simulation that we use today. And I'm delighted to see lots of our partners here from the Inception team who use our accelerator to advance their work too.
Great, thanks very much, guys. So let's just start to make sure that everyone's sort of on the same page. I've used to work at a few different AI startups, some of which are in the creative industries, and know that there are plenty of barriers around getting startups to work properly with large businesses. I suppose it'd be good just to understand a few people's on the panel's view around what do they see as the biggest barriers. We know that things like industry not being having their data in the right state, challenges around persuading leadership, and maybe leadership not being educated around AI. But I'm going to start with Rowan, as I know that you've done some kind of research into this area at the DPP. What do you see as the biggest barriers that startups have with working with large businesses around AI and machine learning?
Yeah, thanks, Max. I think there's a few things. Number one is that media as an industry, and especially the sort of the broadcast sector, is always very, very focused on getting a program out the door today, and on sort of absolute peak quality. And actually, there is a challenge around people having enough time to focus on what's coming next. And I think actually we're starting to see a few kind of green shoots there. We're starting to see more media organizations invest in the future, which is really positive. But there are a number of questions that kind of go with it. Frankly, a number of them have been burnt by sort of some really early stage investigations into AI where there's been some sort of overpromise. I won't name any names, but some companies that have kind of been out there sort of selling solutions that maybe haven't lived up to the hype. And so, what we really need to do is make sure that the problem spaces are well understood, well bounded, solving real business problems and doing so well. And that, I think, really gets enabled by close partnership between the technology providers and the content companies. We've often seen people complain about solutions that just aren't quite matched to the business need. I mean, frankly, from the pitches here today and from some of the latest things I've seen from some DPP members, again, I'm really seeing that go in the right direction. I think that there are some great solutions out there now. And then the final thing that I would say is there's always a challenge about data, right? Who's got the training data? Are they prepared to share it? Where does the IP sit? If models get trained using a content provider's content, is it the technology company that owns that IP? Is it the content company that owns that IP? That's the sticking point that I would say is still the biggest.
No, thanks, and thanks for that, Rob. Keen to know more about that, but we'll maybe try to take that offline. Kadeen, I know that you've worked kind of across both startups and larger industry organizations as well. Would you say that resonates with your feeling of anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, very much so. Very well put, Rowan. I think data sharing has always been a crystal maze, one that we all have to deal with on a daily basis. So I echo those sentiments. I'm thinking a lot, particularly about the future of 5G and how Verizon Media will be creating opportunities to move the world forward by embracing all of the new technologies that are out there. Through connecting people, we're really thinking about how technology is going to enable B2C and B2B, particularly powered by the future of machine learning, the future of social media, the future of the metaverse, immersive production, thinking a lot about GANs and machine learning, thinking about how we're consuming data. And I'm really excited about how these tools and applications are going to be applied in the startup community to allow us to do things differently, to think about things differently, to create new economies. And I think it's an incredibly exciting time. And we've seen so much come out of the UK, specifically during the pandemic, looking at ways that we can innovate and really putting a spotlight on the technologies of our time and how they're being applied by the startup community. So I think it's a really exciting time to be exploring these these tools and applications. I'm also really excited about what that means in terms of what the future holds for 5G. 5G is going to enable us to have a massive impact on how we live, how we learn, how we work, how we play. I'm thinking a lot about autonomous cars, thinking about smart communities. I'm thinking about the internet of the future. We're building that at the moment right here.
It's good to know. And there is, I think we don't often talk enough about the link between how 5G will enable a lot of AI solutions. I mean, even in this industry, it's ultimately the infrastructure that will support a lot of these applications in the field, whether that's mobile or in the future of what augmented reality looks like.
Absolutely. I think we're going to see so much with 5G, and it's going to improve the way that we experience video. It's going to, as Jamie knows, it's going to completely revolutionize how we connect with devices, the billions of devices that are connecting us all. It's going to allow us to be exploring much more opportunities, much more quicker. And I'm really interested in what that's going to mean to the creative industry.
We'll maybe come back to 5G, metaverse, etc. later. We'll start on this now. One thing I think it's good to highlight is that what we've seen today is the product of kind of a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, some beautiful, beautiful polished pictures, but we haven't seen all the hurdles they've had to go through on the way. And I thought it might be good to sort of reflect on maybe what are some of the lessons that have been learned. What advice would the panel have for companies that are perhaps starting out on their AI journey, whether those are startups building the product from scratch or larger companies with their own team starting to develop their own AI solutions. Now, we thought maybe Amandine would be good to start with you. What advice would you have for companies that are perhaps going through some hurdles?
Yes, I do definitely have some advice on that. And I think that the first thing that comes to mind is the importance to talk to your industry early. And, in the startup ecosystem, we always hear about validating your idea, and that can mean many things, and there are sometimes something that we don't do. Like, for example, when you're a deep tech company and when you're an AI startup, you want to validate first maybe your technical assumptions before starting talking to people, and that's what we did. And well, I stand by this plan, but in the same time, as soon as we started talking to the industry, then we got some feedback, and what we thought were just assumption, well, actually, we were wrong, and we thought that we couldn't, for example, start working directly with studios and had to have a step in the middle that actually shape our entire vision and strategy. And so just if we had validated this assumption slightly earlier, we would have pivoted our idea earlier or have a different plan. We just lost a few months. That's not really bad, but I see lots of founders pushing this back even further away, waiting to have a complete solution, a complete product to start talking to not just the target audience, but the entire industry. And I think these feedbacks are all very valuable. And then there is also the importance of the community. There are some industries that are very much community focused, and it's important to get involved also very early on. You may not have much to show yet, but it's important just to be here, be involved, and also potentially start educating early, because you are into AI and the way you're explaining things, the way you're talking may not necessarily resonate with the industry. You're talking machine learning, they are talking industry jargon, and so the two don't necessarily match, and you need to adapt the way you explain what you're doing. So being involved in the community really help also shape your narrative. It's not necessarily about changing completely what you're doing, just changing the way you explain what you're doing. And so for that, being involved in the community for us has been very important. Just the first few times we explained what we were doing, I quickly realized that there were a gap, and the people I was talking to didn't necessarily get that. And this first difficult conversation really helped me quickly change the way I was explaining things, the vocabulary I was using, the terms. And now I try to do a bit of both, right? So when I do presentation, I try to first start with very generic words, words that can and concept that can be easily understood by anyone, not necessarily someone who understands machine learning. And then along the way, during the conversation, I try to, switch a few words. Once people understand one concept, I try to maybe be more accurate by switching one word here, one word there, explaining something a bit deeper after.
I'd completely echo that one of the biggest lessons I've learned is don't talk, if you're selling something AI or building something AI solution, don't talk about the AI side because the more that you focus on the tech, the more you turn people off. And I think one thing we saw today, all the startups talked really about the business challenges. But one point I'd like to just pick onto there when you, Amandine, it sounds like you're saying that there's a kind of a mindset that founders have or product owners have, that they don't want to show it until something's quite ready. Do you think there's a sort of perfectionist mindset, or people aren't comfortable with it being messy or ambiguous, or is that kind of a good sense of why you think that is?
Well, I think it comes to something, for example, if you want to give a good first impression, and that's important. And so, if you start talking to a company that you really want to work with, you don't want them to think that what you're doing is not ready, and then this to affect the entire relationship you will have with them in the future. So let's say you want to talk to NVIDIA, Verizon, or any big player, you want to really work with them, you manage to get a first point of contact, maybe, or maybe not. But what if you reach out to this person and you show what you're doing, and then they say, oh, that's too early, that's not ready for us, that's not exactly what we're doing or what we want. And then you blew up your chance to potentially work with them in the future. I know it doesn't really happen, but I think that's what's really happening in your mind when you're a founder, going out there, trying to start talking to your target audience.
I suppose that's it, right? It's being ready to caveat and being happy to accept the risk of rejection. Rowan, looks like you're about to jump.
Yeah, I was just going to say. I completely agree with what Amandine is saying, and it's just about being open and honest, right? So, we work with media companies who are super willing to experiment and do proofs of concept and try new things. That the only way you're going to destroy the relationship is if you tell them that you've got a perfect, fully polished, finished solution, and you haven't, right? But actually, everything Amandine says about engaging with the industry and working with people, understanding the industry and their business challenges, and communicating appropriately for that, I couldn't agree more.
And Jamie, I know that you've obviously have an oversight of the Inception program. What sort of advice would you lend, or what would you say are some of the biggest lessons learned for AI companies on their product development roadmap?
From a development point of view, I think, if you're focusing on a specific industry like the creative industry, I think what everyone said there about matching the goals of your product to the business needs of your target audience is very important. You can easily go down rabbit holes of very exciting data science and AI and get caught up on a specific problem or point when it may not be the problem or point that the market or your target product should be trying to answer. I think the other thing that we see a lot of, and I've literally just come off a call with a Spanish broadcaster who has presented this problem to me, is they've gone to a group of startups to deliver one particular solution, and none of them are quite meeting the requirement that they have. And my advice in that scenario is be prepared to be flexible on retraining and customization of a product, because as Rowan has said, and the others have said, the AI is not like building a video editing tool where once you've got a timeline and you can insert clips and do cuts, everything beyond that is, a little bit of an extra add-on. With an AI product, the application of that technology to a particular set of data can vary wildly. And, building a generic model or framework that does something is something that we do a lot of. It's something that Google do a lot of. And taking that generic sort of starting point and refining it into a product is like a first stage of development in my experience. And if you get an opportunity to work with someone who says, right, it's great that you can do this, but can we add this functionality, or could you retrain on this data set? Having that flexibility is very important. And it will enable you to build bigger, better products, both for yourself as your own company, but also then potentially, you know, licensing the IP of that particular evolution of your product set to a specific company. And, you know, that's something that we do at a very large scale with people like Adobe and the Smart Portrait technology that came out of our GAN research. You know, we refine that for them based on data they give us, and then we license that particular product that we built to Adobe for that platform. It's the same approach you can take at many different scales.
Interesting. And on that IP side, there are different things you can do. And I'm just picking up a question that's been put up by the audience. And the question is how key is protecting your intellectual property to your business model? And I'm wondering whether it's worth expanding that, because for an AI business, your IP also is not just the model and the technologies, also could also say that the data is part of your IP because it's trained on that. I suppose I'll open that up to everyone. Does anyone have any thoughts on other ways you might leverage your IP? I suppose I would like to think about the question in terms of how might you further your business more by not protecting your IP as much? How else might you do that? I guess over to anyone.
I mean, we have a huge IP business, as you can imagine. NVIDIA's research teams do a huge amount of work that I will hope that many people here are using. You know, GALGAN, StyleGAN, things like this that we make available for research. And the reason that we make that IP available under limited licensing terms is because we want people to further that work. And then if people want to productize that work, we then enter into, you know, conversations with them. And there's lots of different areas of value you can find with IP. You can find someone who wants to take your work and take it in another direction to commercialize it. And that might be, you know, where you can do a pure, you know, licensing revenue-based conversation. Or you might find someone who can help improve your product by giving them some of your IP. So, you know, company Y has a huge amount of data of a certain thing that I can't get access to. So I can give them some of my research. They can take their data, apply it to what I've built, and they can give me back the improvements they've made. And in exchange for that, they can go and productize what they've done in that specific direction. So again, it's about being flexible with how you approach those conversations with companies large and small. I think when a large company comes to a startup, they can often, you know, it can be a little, you know, intimidating when they start talking about IP and, you know, here come Mr. Burns's group of grey-suited lawyers through the door to try and steal all of my information. So it's something to be wary of when engaging with very large companies. And I say that coming from a very large company, but I would hope that anyone here who is engaged with NVIDIA has not felt like that. The point there being, you know, there is a huge amount of opportunity. The intelligence that you're creating and the platforms that could be built in lots of different directions, that idea of using your IP in lots of different directions can really help evolve your business out of what your initial starting point was.
Well, I suppose in a way, with the best will in the world, NVIDIA are a big tech company and have the luxury of being able to, you know, open source and give out something like GALGAN. That's AI that, as for those who don't know, basically fills in the gaps of paintings that you've drawn to make them look like incredible sketches. I don't know if any of the startups that we've seen today actually have a sort of open source free trial thing that would allow people to play around with it, but I can't imagine. I know that I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure if anyone has any views on that. Let's move on to what another point I was going to talk about. I'm really interested in Myrna's talk earlier from the BBC around ethics and how the BBC are looking to sort of standardize practices around how that might work. And I wonder, I'm going to ask the panel, can you imagine a world in which AI standards for startups and AI standards for products might be a requirement for companies working in media and technology, given some of the societal implications or the implications on workforce? Now, Rowan, I know that DPP do a lot of work on standards. Is that a world that you can imagine?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, and there's a constant tension about what can and can't be standardized and what can and can't be sort of formalized, especially in a really fast moving world like machine learning and AI technology. I think, I mean, the ethics point is just, you know, simultaneously kind of deeply important, but also a real minefield. And, you know, very often the kind of engagements that we're across are, you know, a company with some technology, maybe a startup like those who've been pitching today, working with perhaps a big media company who's got a whole load of content that they want to train a model on. And of course, you know, we know that it's actually that training data that is often the source of a lot of bias and that kind of thing. So this is a, you know, problem that everybody has to be involved in. And you know, that's before you get into you know, other areas where AI and ethics touch, like content authentication and you know, deep fakes and that kind of thing, which are things that a lot of media companies are very kind of concerned about at the moment.
And Amandine, I know that you've been through the program. What would be your take on that?
Well, I'd say for me and for us, it has been quite easy to navigate these questions of ethics and data, because simply we're not really using much data. We're mainly using reinforcement learning within the games, so we don't necessarily need to deal with much data, and because we're generating our own data, right? So, but I'd say it was a big question for us at some point, you know, especially when we started, and because we started with a B2C application in mind and eventually pivoted to B2B. But it was important for us to understand what was in place. And I feel that today it's, you feel that you're just walking on eggs, and you don't really, it's really hard to get information to know exactly how to comply the best. So I think it's good to have this discussion, and for every company as early as possible to think about how it applies to you, because it does apply in some way, and just to have some kind of guidelines. I don't know about strict standards required, but that doesn't surprise me. I mean, depending on the type of data you're dealing with, we see that it's more and more important to just start thinking about it. And so I would potentially welcome some standards and further regulations, but also because we managed to think about how we can just not need the data and not fall into this. But yeah, I think it's every business has to think about that, whether you're working with a bigger company or not. Just how do you comply? How do you protect people? And it's not just about you saying, oh, we're not looking at this data, but it's actually about how to build boards and make sure that as you grow, this is not going to change, or it's not just about what you say, but the system you're building.
Well, I suppose part of that as well is, if something goes wrong, or you were to not have ethical standards, what would that mean for businesses? So let's say there weren't, in a world where there aren't standards and everyone's in the sort of Wild West doing absolutely anything and everything, what might the risks be for a big company that adopts those? Now, I know that I'm actually going to point that, whilst I'm sure Jamie's got some views, I'm interested in Caddy's view. What would happen if, like, what would be the fallout? What would be, I suppose, would you see standards of protection? Does what's Verizon's take, or Verizon and or Riot's take on sort of the ethical implications of those types of technologies?
I think that all businesses have a role and responsibility and a duty of care in order to ensure that we create and use AI as a source for good. I'm also thinking a lot about the importance of digital identities and looking at ways that we can use our digital passports in the future. I'm thinking particularly about the government's work at the moment regarding digital identities and the framework that is being developed, particularly around how we prove who we are online, how we exist online. And I think that there's some really interesting work that's happening in this space, thinking a lot about how organizations should handle and protect people's data. We're doing a lot around security and encryption standards, and also thinking about how users can access their accounts and how those accounts should be managed through special tools that protect us to remain safe while we're online. So I think this is a really important question, and one that we all have a role and responsibility in order to address, particularly with the next layer of the internet and the metaverse conversation that we're all connected to right now.
And with that, I suppose, thinking about those future business models and, as you said, the government, there being government policy influencing the way that these trends are going, can you imagine a world where there might be some countries that perhaps have either got more loose rules and therefore that might allow more innovation and more advanced products, perhaps allowing worse data privacy policies that allow more access to data that would allow AI companies to take advantage?
Can you imagine? Now,
yeah,
you know, there are countries that surveil, I won't name them, but I think they're obvious, their entire population with AI. And you know, it's a closed shop. It's not exactly encouraging innovation, but it's complete society surveillance. And obviously, there's a lot of ethical questions around that. And then there are countries who are looking at this and saying we really don't want that. And we've seen this in Europe and in the UK recently with announcements that standards and limitations on the use of AI in society are going to be introduced, and that may either, in one view, limit innovation, or it may increase innovation, because some of these areas we still want to achieve, new ways to approach, smart cities. But if we can't do that by tracking individuals, how do we change that data input to a machine learning or an AI algorithm in order to remove that identity? And I know in the advertising space, the search for identity, or the goal for identity as the value of your data, is disappearing. And they want to move away from knowing you as an individual, but you as part of a much larger, broadly defined set of data points. So I don't know about Max, I know about people like Max. So there's a huge amount of things changing in global industries at government level around ethics and in the use of AI. But I think in the creation of AI is an even harder space to standardize and create regulations for, because the data that you have access to, and we're always going to keep coming back to data, but it's inherently biased, because you're looking at a data set that the majority of big AI programs today are trained on scrapes from the internet. Reddit, Flickr, Twitter, that's what all of the big models today that are the basis for a huge amount of AI research are trained on. And we've done huge amounts of research, both internally, but you look at what Google have done, what MIT have done, what Stanford have done in different areas, and you find huge biases because of the data sources. Now, being able to introduce more diversity to data sources is a problem because of data ownership. So how do you get access to, I want to build, the next style GAN, which creates human faces. I know I want it to equally be able to create any background of individual. I don't want it to be better at doing blonde women because there's more pictures of blonde women on Flickr, which was the original data set. The way to do that is to work with companies who can share data with you in exchange for something else. And that, almost comes back to what I was saying about give and take. I can improve my product by working with someone else who wants a bit of my IP or a bit of my services, and they can give me some of their data in order to train on. But then it goes into a black box. And when someone uses that and then comes back to, who's responsible? Well, am I responsible because I kind of curated that data? Or is the person I've given the IP to responsible because they bought that service from me? Or is the end user responsible because they've used the product? So yeah, complex EULAs abound in use of AI when it comes to this sort of area. But yeah, ethics is a big topic for us, and I think everyone here, and it should be.
It's such a it's a incredibly complex field, particularly when you start thinking about how distributed ledger technologies and Web3 might start to allow that increased sharing of different content, of different licensing models, and then who has responsibility for the kind of implications of how things can be used. It's interesting. There's an interesting question on the from the audience here about the models of non-binary ownership, which is not a term I'm really familiar with, but around how AI and distributed ledgers can provide new licensing opportunities. I know Rowan at the DVP, I know that you probably must be at the forefront of new business models around how companies are sharing content using technology or leveraging. I know the big tech companies, of course, the big media companies, the more that they can leverage their existing IP, whether that's Star Wars or whatever else, that's kind of how they can continue to make the churn. But do you have any views on that, or have you heard about non-binary ownership?
Must admit, I'm with you on non-binary ownership. Is something I'm not particularly familiar with. The whole kind of the distributed ledger thing, there is a whole lot of excitement and interest and research into how business models for content ownership and rights payments and all of that kind of thing might change. I would say we're on a bit of a hype curve with it, right? I think we've got some early adopters who are experimenting, and I think many are watching that with great interest. But we're not really hitting the mainstream with that stuff yet, I wouldn't say. So, it's something that we certainly take an interest in, but is probably 3 steps away from being something that your average DPP member company is sort of investing in right now.
Okay. So one point I think that I've seen a bit during the time at the Catapult is AI and machine learning has traditionally been used a lot towards the end of the creative value chain. So, for example, you've got delivery of content, and you've got creation of content and through to production, delivery, and consumption. I think a lot of AI tools have historically been used in how to analyze audience behavior. That's just naturally much more data driven than the creative process. But based on today, we're starting to see a lot more creative and production tools, which leads to lots of exciting opportunities around democratization of production, because now you can then have anyone, a TikToker or a consumer, being able to create their own content. And I think that has some interesting implications for what society might look like, and what, not just how businesses operate, but what that might mean for the workforce, and what that might mean for society at large. Now, I think everyone on the panel probably has got a vision of, don't want to challenge everyone on whether they think of a utopian or dystopian future. I presume we're probably all on the utopia side, doing the jobs we're doing. But I suppose, does anyone have any thoughts about what they might see as the biggest change in the next 5 to 10 years as a result of these types of tools, whether that's on society or on consumer and experience or on businesses? And I'll start with Kadeen.
Sure. I love this question, and obviously it's one that we're very connected to at Verizon and Riot Studios. I think immersive is going to transform media, and there's some great examples of the work that we've been doing, particularly in the XR space. XR content, I feel, is going to take center stage. We've recently announced Verizon Media's Immersive, which is the largest online XR platform for advertising and content, which will be powered by 5G. It means new opportunities for advertisers and publishers using the latest AR, so augmented reality and virtual reality capabilities to enhance their storytelling, and also provides consumers with a new way to interact with content. I think commerce as well, 5G and immersive are also transforming commerce. We can see the use of AR and virtual reality and how that's being applied in shopping experiences, digital fashion, healthcare. I mean, there's just so many endless possibilities, and specifically in the creative world, I think we're going to see these tools and applications being applied in so many new and exciting ways. So I think we're going to see the rise of much more augmented reality and more of an immersive world powered by the next generation of the digital infrastructure and the web that we're building, which will allow us to communicate in ways that not so long ago would have been completely unimaginable.
Thanks, Kadeen. We've probably got time. I think we've probably got time for one more of you guys. So same question to Jamie, Rowan, or Amandine, whoever wants to jump in first. What do you see as the biggest change that you'll see in what we'll see in the next 5-10 years on whether that's on societies or consumer experience or on business?
I can give a quick answer to allow someone else some time as well.
Okay, yeah, let's do 3 quick ones.
The creative industry will be ever more connected to recommendation tools. So when you're building applications or AI assistants or the sort of tooling that Feed Forward make or Charisma AI make that we've seen today, connecting that capability to user data and then those platforms being driven from e-commerce all the way through the customer experience through to the content that you see on TV sounds dystopian, but if used in a positive and interconnected way, it enables more creativity in both from a automated point of view, from creating with AI, but also from a creative thinking point of view. And the projects that we're working on now with 5 to 10 year goals with major advertising companies and broadcasters, we're seeing what's going to be possible then. And all the technology that Kadeen mentioned then is all connected into that ecosystem. But it comes back to, I've got an idea and I want to deliver on a platform that's going to change something in a positive way. That's got to be the underlying thread.
Thanks. Rowan?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd probably almost talk about what it's not going to do, right? So I think you're right about the democratization of creativity, and you're absolutely right with what we see with Snap and TikTok and all of that kind of thing. And I think we're going to see incredible leaps forward in sort of gaming and interactive experiences, things like what Meta are doing, things like Charisma are doing. But what absolutely will not go away is good storytelling. So one of the things that we're really passionate about at the DPP, a few years ago, we were incredibly skeptical about everybody saying that VR was going to enable new forms of storytelling. And in the sort of, in our world, where we're really now starting to see things like VR take impact, is in creating stories. You look at what the Lion King team did to do virtual production. That's a far more interesting use of it than somebody sitting with a headset on to watch a story. Gaming is a different thing, an interactive experience, absolutely relevant there. But I think we always get caught up thinking that simple storytelling is going to somehow be revolutionized, and it won't. We all love good stories.
Thanks, Rowan. Lastly, Amandine.
Yeah, I don't really think about the future as either utopia or dystopian, because I think tech is just tech, and I love tech, but it's not necessarily good or bad, and it's all about what us humans are going to do with it. And on that, well, I can't promise anything because we are humans. But what I want to see, and what I hope to see in a short-term future, is to see machine learning and technology being used by not just big corporations or big companies who have the resource to allocate to it, and to have dedicating teams that are here to think about how to apply this technology, but to see more smaller actors who are making the most of this technology, who are exploring new areas, new use cases, people who are truly excited about the idea and just get into it and try new things with that. And I really can't wait to see all sides of companies being able to play around without necessarily having experts in-house to know how to do it themselves, but actually they will be able to use tools that enables them to use this technology without themselves being able to explain you exactly how it works behind.
Lowering the barrier for everyone. Well, thanks very much to the whole panel. I'd like to say a huge round of applause. That's a brilliant, stimulating discussion. I'm going to hand back to Hugo in just a second, but just as a quick moment for everyone, we are going to be following up with everyone here with a survey so that everyone will have an opportunity to meet the startups of their choice for today. But for me, thanks very much. Over to you, Hugo.
Thank you so much, Max. And thanks a lot to all the panelists today. That was an absolutely amazing and very inspiring conversation. So thanks to all of you guys. And I mean, just like as a bit of a conclusion, like all I want to say is that the future is like looking very bright and like very promising for both the creative industry and for startups that are working in AI. So thank you to everybody who stayed until the end, and we hope that you enjoyed the pitches as much as we did. So we are extremely proud of the startups that pitched today as part of this amazing event. So thank you to all of them as well. So as Max just mentioned, we'll get in touch with all of the attendees this afternoon with a survey which will give you the opportunity to let us know if you'd like to be introduced to any of the startups. So once more, thanks a lot to all of the speakers today, and I'm sure that we'll all have the chance to hear more about those amazing and innovative startups in the future. Have a great rest of the day, and thank you all. Bye.